Welcome to Executives at the Edge, a podcast brought to you by MEF. I'm your host, Pascal Menezes. Join me as we explore thought-provoking perspectives from the leaders and changemakers who are propelling enterprise digital transformation forward. Well, I'm so excited to have Steve Thomas, Senior Industry Director, Network Services from Frost & Sullivan. Steve, welcome to Executives at the Edge. And I'm really excited about what we're going to cover, and that is network as a service. I think it's such a really important topic, and I'm really excited to hear what you have to say about that and the adoption towards NaaS.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Pascal, for having me. Yes, as mentioned, Steve Thomas with Frost & Sullivan. As an industry director there, I'm overseeing the service provider network services space. The network service providers are usually most of what we have as subscribers. So we conduct research, and then with the help of the service provider community, then there's another division of Frost that does consulting and some brand and demand work, which is basically helping service providers or other entities go to market. But Frost, that's just within the ICT practice. We also have other practice areas: healthcare, manufacturing, cybersecurity, etc. But today, obviously, where I'm working is the network services within the ICT practice. And I came here about a year ago. I was spent about 20 years in the network service provider space, worked for Orange Business Services for many years, and then went over the last 8 years prior to coming to Frost & Sullivan, was with General Motors and their global telecom group within IT, and oversaw, kind of sat between engineering and procurement, helping to evaluate and select vendors as we went to insource their IT and global telecom services. And I was in kind of the data center and security space. So I covered data center security, and actually there was a little bit of immersive technologies there. So not everything in global telecom, but I had a pretty good broad view of the various providers. So that's what obviously makes me a great analyst. I had some background in service providers and in the enterprise telecom space for a big Fortune 500 company.
Well, Steve, very impressive background. Thank you. And I'm sure our audience appreciates your experience and what you bring to the table here. So let's get right to the heart of our discussion. So we're talking about network as a service, NaaS. One, what is NaaS in your opinion, and what's driving the adoption of NaaS? I think, maybe for our listeners, just an overview of what you think NaaS is, or Frost & Sullivan believes NaaS is, and basically what's driving that adoption.
Sure. The network as a service, NaaS, right, is we see it as a way the providers are going to market with services similar to the cloud. And as a service model, it's OpEx oriented. There's a dynamic component to it in that it can be easily scaled up or down. The consumerization of IT services falls in that category. So I don't have a precise definition, but when I look at the service provider community and the equipment provider community and the OSS BSS stack that helps supply services to these providers, that's generally what I'm seeing. It's some sort of dynamic go-to-market, OpEx-oriented, flexible way of buying network services.
Got it. So in a nutshell, it's basically a fully automated cloud-like experience service that has a cloud-like business model to it, which is an OpEx versus a CapEx experience, commercial model. So what's driving this adoption of NaaS?
I think the main thing is the OpEx versus CapEx. I think if you coming from the enterprise telecom space into this role, budgets are year over year, and a lot of times, depending on the organization, their IT budgets, that you may have years where CapEx is a little bit harder to come by, and so obviously, and more predictable budgets are important. So I think network as a service and being that monthly recurring can scale it up or scale it down without having those huge one-time costs is important. And I think that's driving the adoption. I think also much like the service providers themselves, even the network equipment providers, like an as a service model, because they're the cash flow is more steady. It turns everything into a monthly recurring charge versus the one time.
Got it. Now, when we think about NaaS, it's been around for a decade. Why NaaS now?
I think it's also you guys at MEF, you're very involved with it, the SD-WAN and SASE, being where the control plane is now being moved over to a very cloud-enabled environment, and so that separation and software and being more software-defined and controlled, I think, is forcing the telecom operators and the network equipment operators to interconnect at a higher level, and that level of automation that's happening with those efforts is really what's making NaaS more popular these days. It's the proliferation of all the APIs that interconnect. It's the automation, and then the overall softwareization, if that's even a word, of the industry. And obviously, MEF and you guys are right in the middle of that with all the interoperability and inter service provider connectivity. And I think the market as itself is very mature in that they don't see themselves as so much competitors anymore, as really partners, and they realize that they have to go to market together. And I think all of that is just driving the network as a service. It's a combination of all of those things that we hadn't seen in the past. I think it's one of those things that yes, it's been out on the market for 10 years, but all of the API integrations and the SD-WAN and SASE aspects of things, and more cloud being more popular, and deployments in the cloud being more popular. You can buy your internet and then pick up all your virtual services in the cloud, and I think that's really what's driving the adoption there, and driving the why it's more important now than it has been in the past. I don't think all those capabilities were there.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense that the paradigm shift has changed to clouds, which 10 years ago that was not true. It was all to data centers and site to site to data centers. And I think what you're saying is it's the ability for an enterprise to buy from the NaaS provider, connect anywhere, underlay, don't care. The NaaS provider takes care of it. Through automation, they work with all their ecosystem partners to enable it. Have an overlay model coming from the edge with SD-WAN, and then including cybersecurity in the overlay, and then finally connect to all kinds of clouds, right? Multi-cloud. That's kind of what we say it in MEF. And all of that's automated driven. And now we're also adding certification. So when I think about what we're defining what you just described as NaaS, what is the go-to-market strategy, and how will that success be measured? Is it more tailored to the SMEs? Will the multinationals want to buy this kind of, because they're very used to buying very specialized, best of breeds that they can integrate on their own. But NaaS is truly like a utility model, where the utility keeps up to date with the most up-to-date technology. They operate it for you. They do all the work, and you just pay that monthly bill, or the usage on top of it, or both.
Right. Yeah. So here, what I see is, as I look at the community and how they're going to market. Some of the folks are just now coming out with products in the market, and they're saying, they're starting off with just, let's buy internet through this marketplace through our NaaS offering. Others are doing that plus SD-WAN plus SASE. And so what I see here is the opportunity, the success criteria will be that, the more and more of the network service provider's portfolio that gets added to a NaaS like bundling package, that's what they're going to see as successful. The attachment rates to other services, they're to layer on the more security, to layer in, DDoS protection in the internet service itself through this NaaS offering, but also the attachment rates of, you can't talk to NaaS without highlighting that, they're very API custom portal driven, and the service providers are able to tack on their unified communications, the cloud on-ramp capabilities. So when the providers go to the market, they don't go to market with every one of those things within their NaaS portfolio, but they will over time. So and then also I think, it's the whole more people are more geared to doing self-service things. I mean, you go to the ATMs, fast food, everything like that. I think although networks are quite complex, people are used to consuming things by a menu-driven, easy to use portal API integration, something of that nature. This kind of, I think so. I think also the kind of frictionless sales cycle is also quite quite appealing to it.
Yeah, so very interesting. I mean, I like that analogy of fast food. So you go in for a hamburger, but then you had the French fries and you had the Cokes and whatever. So basically, you're saying, you think of NaaS, and I've never thought about it. NaaS could be a very pointed product like internet, but when they buy that, subscribe to that, then they realize they can a la carte put in more stuff, and that part of that utility, the utility just says, oh, you want, cybersecurity, let me add that in for you. You want multi-cloud, let me add that in for you. And it's just basically added in as part of their bundles. And it all just shows up in a frictionless, on-demand, scale-up, scale-down model, all through automation, no people involved. Much like what we expect when we go to anything. In restaurants, you described it very well. If I go to fast food, it's all menu-driven. Go to that monitor, and I just punch
part
it
of
out.
that consumerization of IT, right? That's definitely happening. And so and it's, we have brilliant people working in the backgrounds to make it happen. So it is happening, and I think people will utilize it. But also, as you put more of the service catalog out into this consumable, one of the things that's really neat about this, when they say scale up or scale down, the systems behind it, they're able to bill you in hours. You can scale up something for, a known event for 2 or 3 hours, and then ratchet it back down. And so that helps you save money as a whole. You're not jumping from 1 gig to 10 gig and then paying for that for the next year, because you have to go from, to renew in that manner. And so I think that flexibility will also be appealing to some of those. And then, you have the being able to move fast too, and some of the enterprises love the contracting process. There's a lot of people and processes and attorneys involved with the whole procurement cycle in some of these large companies. But if you're putting a service out there that can be that's priced well already, and with the SLAs and everything else built in, it does ease the buying process for some of those, and bypasses some of that procurement process that can happen. So I think there's some benefit there. Now that when you start, messing around with different procurement cycles in different companies, and of course, there may be some resistance to doing that naturally. But I think overall, it's one of those adoptions that'll happen, and it'll be a way to react quicker to this dynamic workplace, digital workplace that we have these days.
So, Stephen, I want to thank you for your time, but in leaving, I just want to say, I think of NaaS as a utility, just like we buy utilities all over the world for power, water, but really the utility keeps up to date and modernization. It gives confidence that my water won't have pathogens in it, because if it did, no one's going to buy that utility. It's going to be, so I think of NaaS as a utility model that is up to date. And now, if you think about cybersecurity alone, you cannot have, malware coming through. So the utility, and you buy a NaaS, cybersecurity, I think will inherently be part of that now. And, you might have to pay more for it, but, we at MEF are providing and launching out our beta already on our SASE certification to deliver confidence. So the utility can say, hey, there's a third-party stamp that has validated that. So I think, all of this is coming together, and I think you've nailed it, that it's really, the timing is just perfect. And, 10 years ago, we really weren't solving things because we didn't have the software-defined networks and the virtualization, the automation, and the migration to clouds, where today all of that is the norm. And I think that's exactly true. So any last final thoughts, Stephen, before we close out?
No, I'd like to say thanks for joining it. I think the service providers themselves are looking forward to NaaS. Traditionally the operators work in an environment where it takes them a few months to get things installed and up and running. And one of the things that NaaS helps with it is, want to leave with people not understanding that there's a ton of infrastructure behind that API or NaaS a portal that they've procured their services from, and that's the secret sauce of pricing it to where they can keep that infrastructure upgraded behind the scenes, because they are doing a lot of good industry things with people like MEF as well, helping to support the basically creating a language that they all can use to help further the industry. So thank you for the work you're doing at MEF as well, and we certainly I certainly appreciate being on the call today.
Well, thank you, Stephen, for the kind words, and I know all of our members and board would very appreciate your kind words. So thank you again for this episode, Stephen, and have a great week, and we'll see you, hopefully, at the Global NaaS event in Dallas in early October.
Yep, we'll be there. I'm excited to go and see you live again.